Hello.
How are you? What-
I'm good. How are you
You
doing?
you have the look of a very rested mom founder. Like, are you
I find that very
allowed to
hard to
look
believe.
this way as a new founder of Bold Helmets? Hold on a second.
Oh my goodness, this is the best call I've been on all day.
Well, I am so excited to have this conversation, Tina. Thanks for making the time to do this because as a fellow entrepreneur, just the days in the lead up to and the days like those early months, you're constantly on the go with all the aspects of a business. So just even carving out time to do something like this and being a mom, it's besides the, of course, just being in awe of you. Thank you for making the time. So
No,
I'm really
thank you for
excited.
having me. This is like chatting with a friend. I'm so happy to be here.
I get that compliment sometimes, and every time I take it in, it feels like a big hug. So I so appreciate that. Let's get right into it, because I know we talked a few minutes offline before we just got, just before we just got on live, and already just from that conversation, there's just so much to talk about. But we should take it back to the beginning because there might be people who don't know about Bold Helmets. So let me just set the stage because there's a whole full life that you lead online, of course, offline as a mom and a wife, but online you've been in the social media space as an influencer, or let's even just say putting out consistent content about your life. How long have you been in the space of like doing it in a way where it's just kind of the ongoing everyday thing? How long have you been doing that?
So I've been in the social media space for like 7 years. So
Seven
like a
years.
long time. Yeah. So right after the birth of my third son. So when he was three
Mhm.
months old, that's when
Yeah.
I took the plunge and went on social.
Okay, so you've been doing that for a while. And the thing that I know we were just talking about offline, and I feel like it's a really important thing to talk about as we talk about your entrepreneurial journey, is your content. And this is how I see it as someone who engages with your content often, is really just a peek into your everyday life. It's not as much of this like kind of editorialized aesthetic shoot and kind of content, but it's just, hey, I'm living my life as a mom, as a wife, as all the things, and you're taking a peek in, and there's like a real relatable element to all the aspects of what it is to be all these different hats that you wear. To me, like relatable is the first word that comes to mind. And is that intentional? Is that what you want to put out there as an influencer?
Yeah, I always say that social media is not real life. And my goal was always to share the real life mom life because
Yeah.
I think, growing up, I didn't like growing up in real life. I never really saw that. Like anytime, as a family went to someone's house, everything was polished and perfect and clean. And you would never
Yeah.
walk into someone's house with unfolded laundry and all
God
the things. And,
forbid.
I feel like, God forbid, right? It's usually behind a closed door, right? And so there's
Right.
this element of like, how you want to look to people. And when I became a mom, I realized like how hard it is to maintain that level of living.
Yeah.
Like that's just not something that's attainable for a lot of people. And
Absolutely.
so when I started my journey on social, I was committed to like, this is the real life version of this. If I have 20 loads of unfolded laundry, that's just my reality. It doesn't mean that I'm not kicking butt in a whole bunch of other areas, but it's a balancing act. I can't do it all the time. And I think we need to remind parents of that. You can't be all the things all the time.
And I think there's something about someone like you who is very honest with all the different layers. Like there was something you had posted recently about doing something as simple as laundry and just taking that as a moment to just have that slice to yourself to just not think.
Hmm.
Like those kind of little nooks and crannies of living this full life. I think for someone like you to now become a founder and go ahead in the midst of everything else you have going on and start this company, I think there's this additional layer of relatability that, wow, she's got all that going on and she was able to do this, that I think adds an inspiration that is perhaps a little different than someone that feels, not as relatable. And has that been some of the feedback just when you announced that you were starting Bold Helmets? Was that some of the feedback that you were receiving? I would imagine so.
Yeah, so actually there was a lot of parents and I have conversations in my DMs regularly, with the people who watch me and engage with my content
Mhm.
regularly. I follow a lot of them back
Yeah.
actually. And so this is like my online community. And so a lot of the feedback that I got was, when did you find time to do this?
Right.
I'm so proud of you. And even people outside of the sick community, right? Like people outside this group just, being proud of me. And I think when we see someone we find relatable, we see a mom who's just like you, who does something different, does something extra, does something unique,
Yeah.
you have the sense of pride about it. Like, you know, she's just like me. And I think that I've gotten that from so much of my community. And I'm so
Yeah.
thankful. Like, who would have thought? It's one of those things, like, who would have thought this mom of three who can barely fold her laundry went and decided to found this company,
Yeah.
you know, in the wee hours of the night, right? So it's relatable. And I'm glad that people who follow
Yeah.
me feel that level of relatable to me.
Well, it's a good segue into the, actually, how did you do that? So
Yeah.
take us back to, I mean, I think one of the things with Bold Helmets is it doesn't take a lot to understand what the product
Mm-hmm.
is. It's, self-explanatory,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm curious about, okay, this clearly, the jump of, this must be something she must, as a issue that she must have dealt with for her own
Mm-hmm.
sons, that maybe became a, hey, can we do something about this? But can you set a bit more of the context of why this product is needed and why it's important? I'd love
Yeah.
that, like, if you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah. So I think everyone knows at this point that I made this product for my kids, right? I struggled with this, and I think my my whole, you know, the media attention that this product has gotten, if we really break it down and we think about it, it's not so much about this product. The
Mm-hmm.
attention that the media has brought to this is that here's a problem that a lot of us didn't know existed. Here's a community that's not being served, and how do
Mm-hmm.
we look at other areas where we can improve inclusion and diversity in the products that we're making? That's what it is, right? So this product could have been anything. It could have been a helmet for any group of people, right? It's how do we, as a Canadian society, look at what we're doing and create even equity in sport, right? Like, we think about sports like hockey, and we don't have, you know, the proper hockey helmets that our kids can wear, and they're sitting here trying to hair in braids, doing all the things that they can do
Right.
in order to participate. And that's not equity in sport. And so I think we're really looking at the inclusion and diversity of the product, and never making people feel like they can't participate because of a life choice that they make, right? So
Right.
kids shouldn't have to choose, not just kids, anyone, no one should have to choose between a faith or cultural practice that they want to follow and participation in anything, right?
Which
And so
I wish
I
we
think
were
that's what
talking
it is.
about, like that choice around anything to do with cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes starts with
Parents,
parents,
yep.
because kids react to that. And so
Yeah.
there must be this in between place of like, well, my kids respecting the choice that I've made for them,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I'm seeing them feel excluded from certain things because, of A, B, C, whatever that is. And in this case, very specifically, it's like, well, there's not a helmet that works for all the sports
Mm-hmm.
that I want to play and feel included in.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm talking about like summer 2022. My
Mm-hmm.
husband and my kids,
Mm-hmm.
we were going to a batting cage. I'm not that sports person, but my husband wanted to go to this batting cage. I had to call to find out if a helmet was a requirement. Like, I'm talking last summer, right? So you
Yeah.
find out if a helmet is a requirement, and like, you have to prepare for that. Like, I couldn't just pick up and go. I would have to tie my kids' hair differently.
Yeah.
It wasn't mandatory for the adults. So, I mean, we dodged that bullet, and
Yeah.
they can make that decision for themselves. But like, these are things that other people don't even have to think about, right? Like, they don't have to think about where are we going, what are going to be the requirements. You're going ziplining, like, their insurance is going to mandate that you have a helmet, and so how do you prepare for that, right? So there's all these things that happen in daily life, in your life experiences, that I don't think you know unless you're in it. And I think that, you know, if we highlight those, we allow our kids to know that we're working for them, we're
Mm-hmm.
working for inclusion,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to make sure that they're able to do all the things they want to do.
Right. So you recognize the need.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a too broad a statement to say a lot of us have ideas. I mean, as a founder myself, I say this, well, some of them go nowhere. They're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't it be nice if someone made a helmet? How do you go, especially with, like I said, everything you already have going on? What was that moment? If it was a moment, it was a couple of moments. Can you take us through, like, how did it move from, man, I wish something existed so that I don't have to go through this like prep every time, mm-hmm. or that this is not an issue, to I'm going to do this? What was, how?
So I feel like so my older two kids are 10 and 9,
Okay.
and they started hockey, mm-hmm. right? And so hockey is like a whole mission in and of itself, right? Which is a whole different ball game. But I think like 5 years ago, when I started thinking about this idea, when I started like facing the struggle, I had like a little bit of back and forth with my husband where he like felt like it's not a big deal. I'm like, hey, buddy, I work in head injury. I know that this is not okay for me. This is not how I want my kids to do things.
Right.
And so, we just managed the way we could. And it's honestly, it became a point where hollowing out helmets and getting bigger sizes still wouldn't fit.
Right.
That was a moment where I was like, there needs to be another option. My oldest son is only 10. And if a helmet is sitting up here on his head and not on his forehead, I mean, he has all these years. Yeah. As an adult, he can make his own choice. And I hope his choice will be to wear a helmet. Right. But right now, as a parent, it's my choice and my job to determine how I want to protect him. Mm-hmm. And so there needs to be an option. So honestly, I think it's when those helmets and hollowing out the inside stopped working that I was like, no, we need another option.
You were hollowing out the inside of the helmet.
Yeah. So there's foam on the inside of a helmet. So you buy a bigger size sometimes. And then there's that EPS foam that's inside. And so you take a screwdriver, mm-hmm. or knife to it and try to hollow out where the top knot sits, so that the helmet would come down a little bit lower on the forehead as opposed to sitting up here. Because if you fall forward, that helmet is not going to touch the ground first. It's your face that's going to hit first. So we were doing that. As some people go as far as cutting a hole in the actual helmet, we didn't go that far.
Right.
Knowing what I know now, I know that hollowing out the foam compromises the integrity of the helmet, and they are not tested in that way. Like, that foam is the main source of protection of a helmet. And so, yeah, like, I learned a lot. Hindsight is 2020, but that's what we were doing. And, you could argue, is that good enough? But I'm like, why should we have to, like, why are we shifting products that meet our needs? We should have products that meet our needs.
Yeah, I'm just having a moment. I think of, you're in creating products like this, you're solving you're solving a need. But at the same time, it's really educational for people who didn't know that was an issue in the first place. Like, it's really just the fact that you had to do that every single time. I mean, wow. It's amazing that you've created this product, because I just think about how many, and just not even Canada, anywhere, especially given that it's multi-sport, how many people are going to be so appreciative. Okay. I think, honestly, I just need to take a moment to, just as a mom, going, man, that's some extra work you had to put in every single time because of your commitment, that, your kids didn't feel excluded. Yeah. And this is so great that you're doing this. So let's get right into, where do you start? Hey, I should find a helmet prototype company. What are the standards? Because you posted this reel the other day, and you were listing off all the safety standards. I'm like, wait, where did she get the time to learn all this?
Yeah. So it's I share very often that it's been a learning curve, one step forward, 2 steps back, and it's just the way that it's gone. And it was a big learning curve. But that being said, I think the biggest challenge throughout the entire process was finding the right people, right? The right people for the job. Right. And I shared this in one other place, and I'm going to share it here, that I had an idea of what I needed the helmet to look like, but I needed, an engineer to draw this out. So I had some kind of, CAD file, blueprint, whatever, so that I could take this project further. And I actually had more than one engineering firm decline to take my money to do this. And their reasoning was that we feel that you're going to end up in never-ending iterations of this, and we'll run out of money, because they've probably done projects like this before, not like this, but with helmets before, and have run into issues. And so I think that just speaks volumes to how important it is to have the right people on your team. Right? Yeah. Because, someone who right off the bat is like, I won't take your money to do this, is like, okay, I think we're not a good fit. And so you need people who believe in your vision. Yeah. And so, I started by just finding that person to draw out what was in my mind in a way that I could actually use. And then after a couple iterations, learning more about the testing process. And I will share the testing process. One of the tests, CPSC for Canada and the US, they actually drop an anvil on the top of the helmet. So imagine if you would hollow out the foam of a helmet, how that would, that's one of the tests. Would that happen in real life? Would you land in a position? I mean, there's a reason behind these tests. So let's just say yes. But one of the first prototypes we had, or the first iteration we had, we actually had no foam where the top knot was supposed to be, because in our minds, or in my mind, I felt like, okay, you have like an inch or two of hair. It's actually thicker than the EPS foam and will provide you with protection. Right. But then as I researched further, CPSC, or the testing laboratories, are like, you can make any kind of helmet you want, but this is the standard test, and it has passed the standard test, right? So that's when we were like, okay, we need to go back to make some changes to this to make sure it not only suits our needs, but also will pass all the safety testing. And so that, when I say it's a learning curve, I'm like, this was all very slow. It sounds quick and it sounds sequential, but it absolutely was not.
Would you, looking back at that time, or remembering remembering that time, would you say, as you kept getting this feedback and kept going through these, would you say you were frustrated about the process and having to do it multiple times, or would you say there was an excitement that I'm learning more? Like, and talk about that. And then also, as part of that, was there ever a forget this, man, this is way too much work?
Yeah, so there was many times where I was like, I think this isn't going to work out. Like I had this fear of this not working out. That's like from the beginning, like till this very
Yeah.
day, even now, like I got product on the water on its way to me, and
Yeah.
I'm like, what if people get their stuff and they don't like it?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like I
Oh,
think
of
that's just
course.
when you work hard on
Yeah.
something, when you believe in something,
Well,
you want it
people
to be
love
good.
it.
Exactly. So I think that there was points of frustration for sure. Like anytime where I went through a test and I thought it was done and then realized I needed
Yeah.
another test, right? So there's those moments where there was a little bit of like if I had a mentor, someone to guide me in this space of, designing and building helmets, it would have helped me tremendously. I just never had that person. Um,
But you
but I think some of
persevered.
the, yeah, I persevered. But then also, like, when we talk about frustration, some of that was also money. Let's be honest. Like
Yeah.
every iteration that you do of this
Yeah.
process or any testing is very expensive. And so I'm lucky that I only made like a minor iteration and was able to end up with a product that worked. And I think that's because I did take it slow. Like everything went slowly. I didn't push very quickly. Because I had time to research and learn and do that. And so I'm thankful for that. And I'm thankful I'm here because there's a very good chance I may have not been
Right.
here.
I mean, and I hear that, and the kind of the tip that I'm crystallizing from it is take your time.
Yeah.
And I assume that you're self-funded in the way you're speaking about this, or
Yeah.
was there you're self-funded?
I was completely self-funded. And, there was a couple of times throughout this journey where I had some friends or, mentors in the space who said, maybe you should take on investors and all that. And honestly, it was the fear of this not coming to fruition. I think
Yeah.
I was so committed to like, I need to just make sure I have something that works first,
Yeah.
that, again, because I don't have experience in the space of helmets and all that, I worked in head injury, but like I never designed a product of
Right.
this type in the past. And so I think there was some of that fear. And thankfully, I was able to self-fund it. It allowed me, I went slowly, I did it how I could do it. And now here we are.
And this is exactly what makes your story so relatable, because as you were explaining to me earlier, like, what's your research team? Your research team is internet. It's
Internet.
called Google. Yeah, that's it. But
Yeah.
it just shows that there's an accessibility element to seeing something from A to Z. I mean, I don't know if you're at Z yet, but seeing something, to a point at least where it's now real, it's living, and it's out there and could be in the hands of people.
Yeah.
As part of this, you went through something that's an interesting bump that, I would say not every founder deals with. And again, watching you go through this has been such a joy to just see how you've navigated it. But let's get right into talk about that. So the company was originally called Seek Helmets. You announce that you're doing this, you're excited, and you post this, and then you start to slowly receive some feedback. I don't know if it was slow or if it was a tsunami of feedback, but you start to receive some feedback, saying that I'll let you complete how it went from there.
Yeah. So there were some members of the Sikh community who had some concerns around the name of the helmet, including the word Sikh in it. And so when I first heard that, I was actually surprised. And, I took my time with it. Like I took like a couple of days of silence to really sit with that, because it's something I want to decide how I felt about it personally. Like I poured my heart and soul into this product, and and the mission means so much to me that I wanted to actually take the time to sit with that feedback. And I think that as I've gotten older, it's been easier to do that. You can take some of that feedback, sit with it, and then decide how you want to proceed. And so after I thought about it, I decided that I felt good about moving forward with a different name for a couple of reasons. And one of them is that there was a fear that there was confusion that this was endorsed by the entire Sikh community. And I'm very well aware that it's not. There are some members of the Sikh community that feel that you shouldn't put anything on top of a patka or your head or a turban. And again, I shared a couple of times that the media calling it a turban-friendly helmet led to some of that. This is absolutely not meant for that. But, regardless, I think there was that element of this is not endorsed by the entire Sikh community. And so I recognize, why that might be a struggle for some people. And so I felt good about pivoting with the name. So people have asked me, people have messaged me saying like, I'm so mad that you had to change the name, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not, because the helmet still does what it needs to do. My mission is still very much the same. And I feel good about that change. And I think being able to come to that decision only came from sitting in silence for a bit.
Do you think the being in the public space as an influencer and just already dealing with comments, I am sure not all good and bad, do you think that helped and inform some way your ability to kind of have that quiet versus like feeling like, I'm being attacked? Like,
Yeah, like I've been in the social media space for over 7 years, right? So I've like plastered my face on the internet, like in all the places. So I've heard a lot of feedback, and I feel like nowadays, so like my audience is much more refined, and the people who
yeah,
follow me, they follow me, and I don't actually really get that much hate or negativity or any of that. So when this product came out and that came flooding back, it reminded me of the early days, like on social media. Thing is, I'm 40 years old. I have a thicker skin with certain things, and again, because my passion for what I was doing is so strong, it didn't deter me away from doing that. There, like, I say this while also recognizing that, I cried every day for a week while I thought about this,
right.
and that's the truth. And I think there's an important
To say
part of
that.
being vulnerable that we have to share,
Yes.
right? Like this is, it meant a lot to me, and changing your name is no easy task, right? Like, especially I already have product in production, so my whole first batch still has the old branding on it, but like, we made the decision to move forward slowly as we could to make
Mm-hmm.
that transition. And so I was in Mexico. That's the
Mm-hmm.
truth. I was in Mexico when all
Mm-hmm.
this was going down.
Mm-hmm.
And, I sat with it, I cried. And then at the end, I made the decision that I felt good about. And
Yeah.
so it's early enough that the pivot worked for me. And so, yeah, I feel good about it. That's all I can say. Now I feel good about it. I'm still continuing on what I want to do, and that's okay with me. And there's some people who are disappointed that I changed the name,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, acknowledge that they understood why I might feel that way. So,
Do through this entire process,
mhm,
how involved, well, I mean, your kids had to try the product on.
mhm.
How involved have they been in just watching you do this? And like, what has that meant to you to be going through this journey, very active, very live journey with your kids, especially?
So for my kids, I mean, they've been involved from the beginning, like you said. Like, so I was like measuring their heads, measuring where their top knot sits against their forehead. So they've done it. So
Yeah.
they've been through the whole thing. I had one of them even visit like the engineer with me, right? Like, and then picking out the colors and all that. So they've been involved from the beginning, even when we were thinking of names.
Yeah.
Like my kids' friends who come over to the house, I had them try on the helmets, So
You're
they've
like,
been
a
involved.
child walking through here cannot escape.
Oh, a
They
kid comes in
must.
with the top nut.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 1 second. I need
Yeah.
to
I
get you.
need to
You know what I mean? Because the more samples I have, the better. Everyone needs to try this on.
Yeah.
Right. So they've been involved in the very beginning. I think that's like such a great thing about this. So there's a lot of people who found a lot of things, but mine actually involved my kids.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with my content. So even though I've kind of transitioned more to sharing more about my life's journey as who I
Yeah.
am as Tina, I started as a mom and sharing about my mom journey. So they've always been involved in all the pursuits that I have, and I think that makes it very special. My husband, I feel like, doesn't get enough credit. He always
Yes,
says that
I know. Sorry,
he
I
gets
should
like
ask.
no credit
Yes.
for anything. But yeah, no, my husband is like very heavily involved, like from day one. He's been a supporter, he's been a helper, like he's on my tech side. My husband's an engineer, right? So he's on
Yeah.
the tech side of things, and he does all the things for me in that space. And I really don't think he gets the credit he deserves, but he's been amazing
Okay, so
support
a
through the
shout
entire
out,
thing.
the official
Shout out to
shout out,
Harpreet,
and
who has
thanks.
done all the work, and he's behind the scenes, but like so heavily involved. And I share so much of his experience in the media too, right? Talking about his experience growing up, and so yeah, it's been a family affair to say the least.
I need to reiterate this, like I said at the top of our conversation. I think it's so incredible for other founders, other people with ideas, other people who are on the brink of an idea, to see that you, as a mom of more than one kid, and I say that because I have one, and I know that the minute it goes over one, it's not double the work, it's like 100x the work.
Yeah.
So to have kids, to live this full life, to do this in a all self-funded, and to have the executive of your team be Google, and to just like to see and go through these paces, it really does drive home the point that it can be done. And that's, yes, the sales will come in, yes, there's going to be more bumps along the way. And I mean, as much as it sounds like a hey, yay for being nominated, it's really not. Even to this point, there's so much to be proud of.
Yeah.
And I just have to say that over and over. But let's get to something I actually have a question about, because I'm confounded by how you are able to manage even more content, because let's face it, to sell a product, content is now the entry point into sharing it, especially awareness. How are you doing this all? Like, and not, please don't say, I just manage. Like, no, like,
No.
actually, how are you doing this?
So let me tell you the truth to parenting and running a business right here. My
Okay.
truth. You outsource all the things that you can outsource, and there's things I just have to let go, right? Like I don't have all my laundry folded, you know, not everything's clean. I have a cleaning person who comes in. You know, I just wing it. I try to meal plan and batch cook. Like I do all those things that I can do. Do I get it perfect every time? No, but I'm easy on myself because I know that I'm trying to do something more, right? Like I would like there's been a very small period of my life where all I was doing was parenting. And parenting in and of itself is more than a full-time job. So if you are parenting, don't take this as, oh, you're not doing enough. You're doing more than enough, my friend, because I have done both. I've done like the 9 to 5, I've done parenting, and parenting is way harder, right? So in my experience. So, you know, trying to manage both is like you have to give yourself grace, right? That's what it is. You need to call and support that you have. And in the last month, since the media has really run with this story and, you know, everything, and I've been so busy with media interviews and all that kind of stuff, I've been way more unavailable to my kids and my family than I ever have been in the past. And so, you know, it's really about that partnership, right? And leaning on those people in your life who can help. And so my husband, like, he's perfectly capable of taking care of the kids, and he's really stepped up to the plate in a way that honestly, like, I thought it'd take a lot of work to get him to do that or just prep him. But like, I don't even have to think about it now. I got to go somewhere to get something. It's not a question. It's like, this day I'm going to be here. It's in the calendar and that's it. And so it's leading on those partnerships, because there are years where I'm more heavily, you know, with the kids because he's busy with work. And then, you know, it works both ways. And so I think leaning on those partnerships, leaning on the help that you can get, if you can get it, well,
your village, as we say,
village. Yeah. And I recognize that not everyone has that. And I recognize the privilege that comes with being able to have someone come in and clean and do all those things. And even then, like, it's once every 2 weeks, guys. Like, I don't have anyone come in every week. Like,
so,
you do what you can do.
The outsourcing is great, but there's something you touched upon that, I mean, I struggle with this myself with, like, you know, all the different hats I wear I don't want to gloss over that sentence about giving yourself grace, because that doesn't come naturally to women already. Culturally, it doesn't come naturally to be like, okay, that's at 60% today. Oh, we're eating the same thing from 2 days ago. Oh, well, like the grace piece. Has that been a process for you to give yourself grace?
Oh my gosh, it's such a process. And if I still said I give myself complete grace, it would be a lie. That's not true. I'm trying. It's a work in progress. I am telling you, like, from the early days of parenthood, when I, you know, was like, I literally would like kill myself trying to make it to boot camp to work out, trying to take care of 3 kids. I had 3 kids home all at 1 year before my oldest started school. You know, and I was the sole one home with them, and, you know, trying to do all the things, the laundry and all that stuff. And I got to a point, and then I started vlogging. Like, it's like I didn't have enough. Then I started vlogging. So this, like, you know, eldest sibling, like, you know, brown girl, like, kind of way of living, right? You're always trying to do more and more. And then, you know, I feel like it's just now as I turned 40, where I was like, I get to choose how I want to live, and this is not my life's legacy, right? It's not my life's legacy to have all my kids' laundry folded and put away. Does it make my life easier? Do I try? Yes. But if I don't, it's okay. There's a lot of other things I do. Like, fine, I don't have folded laundry, but I started a business.
And it is okay.
Yep. Exactly.
I think it's the grace that sometimes we give it easily and dole it out like as if it's on sale to our friends, to everybody else, to ourselves. It's, oh man, I so relate to that, Tina. Like, just even this morning, I'm like, oh, right, still load number 4 I haven't completed. And there's, even if it's not out aloud, there's I'm not good enough. I didn't get everything done. And it's
100%
toning down that voice.
Yeah.
How can you manage time so well? Did you hire help? We literally just covered that, and I'm going to actually post some social kind of pieces after this interview, and just really, because that's such an important point that we all need to hear, and it's not a saturated message by any means. We need to hear it more and more, and especially from someone so relatable and really putting your honest story and day out. That's everything. Now, before we go really quickly, it's Canadian pre-orders are live. US pre-orders. Oh, the sun's hitting me hard. Sorry. The US pre-orders are, what's the status?
Take us really soon, like, as in, if you're not following the Bold Helmets page, follow it now. If you're not signed up for a mailing list, sign up now, because very, very soon. And like our first order is like there's a specific batch and there's a set number. So to get in on our first batch, like it's probably
you
ideal
need
for getting for pre-orders. Yeah.
Get it in pre-order.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for this time, and just in awe of you, but at the same time, it truly is a story of you can do it. To anybody out there, you know, has an idea, is kind of on the fence, wondering and going, I don't know, it feels like it's a somebody else story, not me. Your story really, really just says, hey, there's something you want to do. Just dive in at whatever the pace is and just do it.
Just do it. You're not too old. It's not too late. You can do it.
That's it. Yep. Thank you so much. And I'll catch you online, catch you on social, and going back to now checking out all of your content. Yes, you're an inspiration, as Mom of All Things says. You really are.
Oh, thank you so much, Bhargavi.
Take care. Have a good rest of the day.